fellow solar addicts, it's Brian here from thosefishgeeks.com. I'm generally not one for unboxing videos, but I did just get the brand new Bubble Magus Curve 9 DC skimmer in today. The UPS driver just dropped it off for us here about an hour ago. I just got back from servicing a few tanks. So I'd like to take a minute, open it up, take a look at it, and see what it looks like. I'm a pretty big fan of the Bubble Magus brand of skimmers. I run the Curve 7 skimmers on some of my own tanks as well as multiple customer aquariums. So when I heard they were coming out with a DC skimmer, I was looking for a new skimmer for my new frag tank. The new frag tank is 4 feet by 8 feet with a 110-gallon acrylic sump. So it's a pretty substantial system, and I wanted to make sure I got a skimmer that would work well for it. This skimmer might be a little bit underrated if you just go by the gallon rating, but since the system that I'm going to be putting it on is simply a coral system, I'll have very few fish in it. I figured it would probably do the trick, and I guess we'll find out. Okay, so it appears we have plenty of packing peanuts. We'll make sure it didn't get damaged in shipping. Now this won't be in the standard packing box. When I went to order this skimmer, the skimmers had not come in yet. So this was actually their display model that they sent to me because I told them I needed a skimmer right away. And they weren't 100% sure when the new DC skimmers were going to come in. Okay, it looks like we've gotten to the first part of the skimmer here. Let's see if we can get it out of here without making a giant mess. Looks like we have the diffuser plate. Nice little Bubble Magus logo on there. Plenty of packing peanuts. Okay, looks like we're down to the collection cup here. Alright, let's pull this thing out and see what it looks like. Here we have our collection cup. Slightly different from the standard Curve skimmer in that it's blue. So it's a pretty substantial size cup. Should hold a lot of junk. Okay, next we have the skimmer body. Very substantial. One of the major differences between this and the standard Curve 7 skimmer would be the height adjustment. Rather than having that standard tube with the min-max that's actually kind of backwards to the way logic tells you it should be, they've got a new style of adjustment. They do have these also on the AC skimmers available, but it's definitely on the new DC skimmer. What you have instead of that pump is actually a gear assembly. And this gear assembly, I think, is going to make for a lot finer adjustment, a lot easier adjustment. Basically, you turn the knob. As you turn the knob, it opens up that gate in the bottom of the skimmer, which will adjust the height inside the skimmer body. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying this out. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with the Bubble Magus skimmer and how they're put together, one of my favorite things about this skimmer is how simple it is to take it apart, clean it, and maintain it. I've dealt with other skimmers that you take the cup off and you can fiddle around in there with a brush or maybe get to part of the skimmer to clean it, but it's very difficult to get to certain areas. And not that it's that important, but I like to have the equipment that I maintain for people looking their best. So with the Bubble Magus skimmer, you've got 4 thumb screws down here. You take those 4 thumb screws off and the entire skimmer body comes off. You can take it to the sink, you can clean it, you can scrape the coral line off of it, whatever it is you need to do. So as you saw, the diffuser came separately, which is also pretty nice. When you're cleaning the skimmer, everything comes apart. Take it all over to the sink, scrub it up real good, make it all look brand new. So basically what we have going on, you've got the base plate, you've got your DC motor. Take the DC motor, snap it into the base plate there. There's a hole in the base plate for the wire to come through. Then with the DC pump, place the plate on top of the pump. Comes with a little nut here for you. And go ahead and put that on. Something I just noticed about this new system, on the Curve 7s, the plate is held on basically by the nut on the pump discharge. On the new DC system, there's actually a small piece of acrylic attached to the plate which rests on top of the pump to give you a little bit of extra support, rather than having everything hanging on the weight of that discharge nozzle. It's possible that they do this because the discharge nozzle is off center and they need you to do it to center it, but regardless, I think it's a really nice addition. Okay, we just put the plate on here. Got one screw to hold that all together. And again, this all comes apart this easy anytime you want to clean your skimmer. Now while we're talking about disassembly and cleaning, there is actually a small release right on the side of the bottom plate that holds the motor in. So all you have to do to release this to clean it is to press that small release right there, slide the motor off, take this entire assembly apart, and you're good to go. So another thing I've noticed that's different about the Curve 9, and this may be all Curve 9s, maybe not just the DC, to be honest with you, I don't know, because I haven't worked with an AC Curve 9. I believe it's because of the new adjustment mechanism. The Curve 7s actually had 2 holes in the skimmer body, which allowed you to mount the skimmer body on one of 2 directions. Another thing that was kind of nice about that extra hole, you could either cap it or uncap it depending on the height of the water that you're putting the skimmer in, which definitely changed the amount of flow and the height inside the skimmer body based on the depth that you mounted the skimmer. I believe with the adjustment available with this new style of gate valve, I think we're going to be fine, but I will be a little bit curious to see how that works out. So we take the skimmer body, bring it over to the skimmer base. Definitely have to make sure that you match the gear on the adjustment to the gear on the skimmer base. Set that down on there like that. Make sure all of our little latches are positioned so everything fits together nicely. Just like that. Slide the 4 little latches around, tighten the thumb screws. Okay, so that's all together. Now we take our venturi, we slide that right through the hole in the skimmer body and attach it to the skimmer pump. Next we have our silencer. I like the new mounting bracket. The silencer actually slides through a hole in the mounting bracket into a recess in the acrylic. And you do have then a thumb screw that goes up in the bottom. Tighten the thumb screw. It's nice and sturdy there. From there we attach our air intake line. Like that. Bring it down to the venturi. Now that's all set and ready to go. The only thing we have left to do is add the skimmer cup. Now all Bubble Magus skimmers come with a drain built in, and they do come with a section of hose. For some reason the section of hose that they send is generally not long enough to actually make it to any kind of a collection container, so I'm not 100% sure what the deal is with that. I generally cut the hose short, use the included plug and cap them off. I'm generally not a fan of external collection cups. If you ever should have an issue where the skimmer decides to overflow and you have this plumbed to an external collection container, you can actually overflow that container. Normally that container is sitting on the ground or sitting under your aquarium stand, and it can make a gigantic mess. I do have one system where I have this hose plumbed directly into a drain, which is super convenient. However, if the skimmer should ever malfunction and overflow, it will remove a significant amount of salt water from the aquarium. That system does have an auto top off, so the tank won't run dry, but it will make a significant impact on the salinity inside your system. So there's pros and cons to doing it either way. Obviously, without having an external collection cup, if the skimmer should overflow, it's going to put all that waste back into your sump, which is not a positive thing. But the alternatives of having it possibly overflow onto your floor or out onto your stand, I would rather just take the risk of having the collection cup overflow. But generally, with the Bubble Magus skimmers, once you've got them set where you want them, they are super consistent. Most of the aquariums that I service, I use a controller on. With that controller, when you put it into feed mode, it shuts off the aquarium pump, also shuts off the skimmer. I have it programmed so that there is a half-hour delay on the pump and an additional half-hour on the skimmer, which usually allows everything to get kind of back to normal before the skimmer turns on. I think that's the most frequent time that you have an issue with a protein skimmer is directly after feeding. So by giving everything an hour to kind of get back to normal, we have less of a chance of the protein skimmer overflowing. So what really sets this skimmer apart from the standard curve skimmers is going to be the controller. Being that it's a DC pump, you can control the speed that the pump runs at. So the settings on the controller are 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, and then 120%. So basically they're recommending that you run it at the 100% mark, which will actually be a little easier on the pump because the pump's not going to be running at full capacity all the time. But it does give you the option, if you want to remove a little extra nutrients from the water, maybe skim a little wetter, but you don't want to mess with your adjustment because you have it set in a sweet spot, you can just bump the pump up to 120%. That'll give you that extra boost that you need to remove some excess nutrients from the water. At the same token, if you have an issue, say for example, you had a fish die and you didn't get it removed from the tank right away and the skimmer starts going nuts, you can actually turn the pump down a little bit. Again, leave your skimmer adjustment right where you had it, turn the pump down, solves the problem for you, and you don't have to mess with getting your adjustment back exactly where you want it. You just turn the pump back up to the setting of 100% when you're done, and everything should be back to normal. Now obviously I just got this skimmer, so I don't have any experience with it yet, but I can't help but think that that small DC motor is not going to produce near as much heat as the standard AC motors will. So I'll be kind of interested to see what the water coming out of the skimmer feels like. It'll be a little more difficult because it's coming out below the skimmer, but hopefully we'll be able to tell and see if there's a difference there. So that pretty much wraps up the unboxing and first look at the Curve 9 DC skimmer. Hopefully we'll get it plumbed into the tank here this weekend maybe and get it rolling, and we'll give you an update as things progress. Thanks for watching.